Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here today. We're taking a closer look at Dogecoin. Now I got a lot of requests for this. That's the main reason I'm covering it. Of course, not typically my go-to coin, but I know it's a people's coin and I have a ton of community members that are asking me to go ahead and reference this. So thank you so much to my community for asking that I cover this. Now what we do is we just look at the technical charts. There's no fundamentals here. If you have fundamental insight, feel free to include that below. But generally speaking, we're just looking at the technical charts to ensure that we help you find a good entry point as well as understand best practice. Okay, so the whole point is for you to learn. I want to teach you to trade for a lifetime instead of for just one day. Okay, so just know I'm not a financial advisor. This is for educational purposes only. Always do your own research. And I have a link to my Telegram community, Discord channel, Patreon if you'd like to show your support, and also $25 in Bitcoin from Voyager, all in the description below. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right to it. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at Dogecoin. And before we do, we always look at Bitcoin and Ethereum first just to get a baseline on the market, kind of see what's going on, and see if there's any correlation between the two, right? So let's just make sure to take a look at that first. And to preface, I am using the Binance desktop application, which is the TradingView charts. So if you see up here, you can click on TradingView to enable that if you'd like to follow along. And what I do is I use the 200 and the 50-day moving average, the simple moving average, typically on the 4-hour chart, just so I can get the best measurement of what's going on with support and resistance lines. And as we can see right now, the 200-day moving average is trending above. Nothing much to note here except that it's slowly progressing downwards. And if we can get this 50-day moving average to swing upwards, we'll eventually have a golden cross that would work as a support to break it through that 200-day moving average resistance level. Okay, so that's the eventual goal, but for right now, as you can see, the 50-day moving average worked as a support level, now recently a resistance, back up over as a support, so we'll see what happens. We did break above, so hopefully if it holds for another 4 to 8 candle bars, we should be in pretty good shape to hopefully help it allow us to ride the price back up. And we want to try to pass this $42,000 mark. That's a big deal for Bitcoin right now. That is kind of the next major milestone. If we can get there, we'll be looking pretty good to hopefully progress upwards, minus the fact that the 200-day moving average, again, would be the next major milestone after that. So just something to note, that is kind of what Bitcoin is looking like. And again, this is the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin. So let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum next. Now, Ethereum tells us a very similar scenario. Let's go ahead and take a look at these moving averages. As you can see, the 50-day moving average worked as a support, resistance, and now support again. So good news is Ethereum's just a little bit above Bitcoin as far as the progression is concerned. So it's doing a little bit better, which is fantastic. And if we see the 200-day moving average that is also going to be working as a resistance level, that's hovering right around 3,100. Okay. We do also have a resistance level here, and I want to mark that. It's approximately 2,900 for Ethereum. So just be on the lookout for that. That'll be the next major resistance level that was tested, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 times recently. Which is a good sign, because the more often a resistance level is tested, the more likely it will get broken. So there's a strong chance the price will break above that and hold above, and then that will become even stronger support once that's broken. All right, so that's Ethereum. Let's go ahead and take a look at Doge now. And let's just start with the 1-day chart. I always like to look at the 1-day chart first, and then work my way down, just so we can kind of get a baseline on the overall, sentiment, big picture, and then work our way down to the smaller sizes here. Okay, so looking at the chart here, obviously you can see the 200-day moving average is a ways away, and that's because the price action moved up severely in a short amount of time. We all remember that, went from roughly 6 cents upwards to 45, back down to 25, then up to its all-time high of 74 cents. Ever since then, we've kind of had the Saturday Night Live debacle and then a few other things that have caused the price to plummet. The China candle, Elon candles, those are all in here, and that caused the price to come back down. But it does look like Doge is looking to try to ramp back up now that we have some consolidation in Bitcoin. We got some lateral price movement. Okay, a lot of altcoins right now are starting to kind of expand and get back on track because of that reason alone, right? That one thing causes all to action. It's like one coin to rule them all, right? So unfortunately, Bitcoin is a major catalyst here, but nonetheless, right now, you can see the price is above the 50-day moving average on the 1-day chart, which is pretty substantial. If we can get this 1-day candlestick to close above the 50-day. We're looking pretty good shape there to hold that as a potential support level. Also, RSI is pretty much fair, right in the middle. Nothing much to note there, but the MACD does imply that we have bullish sentiment. Obviously, you can see it in the last 3 days, but the MACD is essentially converging upwards. And when you see that, that is usually a good signal, good indication of a long position if you're going to be holding for, as a swing trader, right? So pay attention to that. That does imply that we have some bullish sentiment here moving forward. Now looking at the 4-hour chart, let's go ahead and see what's going on here. Obviously the RSI is up over 70 and coming back down, which is not a bad thing. That's pretty standard, pretty normal considering how much it ramped up in the past 24 hours. I mean, let's see, what was that increase here? We've got, may not seem like a lot, but that was a 42% jump from this time yesterday. So pretty big increase. Now, obviously, the RSI jumps up over 70 and comes back down because of that. That is pretty standard. Bear in mind, too, the price did reject at the 200-day moving average. So this purple line here is a 200. That is kind of the industry standard for buying and selling. So just note that the 200-day moving average is essentially holding the price action down. So there's a strong likelihood that will work as a resistance level moving forward. Not sure how long it will continue to work for, but it is safe to say that it will, because the fact that it was, we've got 4 or 5 rejections in the past at that same 200-day moving average when it tried to, recover and come back up. Good news is the 50-day moving average is working as a support, so it's kind of working itself into this channel. So if all goes well and the price action kind of stays up here and stays below the 200, the 50-day moving average will come up and it'll swing up. And this is considered a golden cross, where the price comes up like this and the 50-day moving average does this, and essentially the price could stay around this area and then break up. And it's pretty normal for that to happen in a lot of cases, because the fact that the 50-day moving average just slowly drives the price up and the 200 eventually gets broken because it gets tested as a resistance multiple times. So be on the lookout for that. That could very well happen. All right, so looking at we're going to look at the RSI. As you can see, though, the volume has significantly increased. So we've got a tremendous amount of investing going on here in the past 24 hours. In fact, you look at the last 24 hours, that's equivalent to the last 3 to 4 days worth of volume. So that's a really good sign. Basically just means that people are willing to invest more so now than they were before, because obviously when there's a bunch of bearish sentiment overall in the market, it takes a while for things to recover. People are concerned about investing. Same with large investors. It takes a while for that normalcy to return. But now it looks like Dogecoin is coming alive, which is great for a lot of people because it is the people's coin. So looking at the 15, let's go ahead and see if we can identify a good entry point. And if you're new to the channel, I always like to remove the 50 and the 200-day moving average, just based on the fact that they're less effective on shorter time frames. So if you're kind of newer to trading, don't hesitate to use other indicators on shorter time frames. I like the 15-minute chart the best because it helps me with day trading and swing trading. It's kind of like a perfect middle for both. In other words, if you're trying to swing trade, you use it to find a good entry, but also if you're looking at day trade, you use it as confirmation. And I'll explain what I mean by that here. First of all, let's enable the indicators that I feel are the most effective. So we've got the VWAP, and if you're not familiar with that, that is a volume weighted average price. It's a day trader's best friend. Still a good effective tool for swing traders. Again, if you use a 15-minute chart and then take entry based on a few other factors. But it really helps you understand support and resistance levels. In other words, it's a continuous support and resistance level that works with a price action because it takes the 24-hour volume and expresses it as a price. So the last 24 hours, what the volume is expressed as a price, and right now the price should be roughly 38.5 cents. Okay, so that's roughly what we're looking at there. Whereas the price action was too high, as you can see there, 44, almost 45 cents. That variance between these two was so extreme that almost 18% it had to come back down. So when you have a standard deviation of that much, then the price will return back to normal. So, if you look at that, and then of course in conjunction you see the RSI up over 70, those are things to kind of pay attention to, right? So when you see the VWAP line is essentially, extremely overextended, it's the price is way above where the VWAP is, that tells you that the price will come back down. Okay, on bull runs, sometimes it doesn't happen. It'll come down and continue to go back up again. And of course, Dogecoin is known for that. But on the same accord, it's something to note because just say, for example, you would trim some off the top here and then took those trimmings essentially and reinvested it here when the price comes back down and bounces off VWAP. That would be a good consideration to think about moving forward, because that's oftentimes what I do in scenarios like this. Okay. Furthermore, we want to look at the EMA. And the EMA is the exponential moving average, right? So it's exponential in the sense that it responds to the price action faster. So the shorter the time frame, the more effective it becomes. But bear in mind, on the 1 minute chart, it can be almost too effective. And I'll also explain what I mean by that. But the 15-minute chart is perfect because it's kind of that middle ground where you get a blended average of the exponential moving average, and it really helps you identify if it's a bullish sentiment or bearish sentiment. So let's just go back here to where this little bull run started, right? So right in this range here is when the bull run started, right? And as you can see, the price is kind of wavering. And this does this a lot during consolidation periods where it goes above and below the EMA line, right? So this red line here is the EMA. So the price is kind of trying to consolidate and figure itself out. But as you notice, once it breaks above EMA and the VWAP line, somewhere in this range here, it's showing that the price is moving upwards. Now what it does, it tries to come up, right? And then it tries to come down, and what it does, it bounces off the EMA and VWAP line. Traditionally, it's going to bounce off the EMA line in a bull run, and then what it does, it continues upwards. So what's the best practice to do in a scenario like this is to wait for confirmation. And for me, confirmation is two 15-minute green bars closing above the EMA and the VWAP line. Okay, so if you look here at this point, you see these numbers here. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit further. Okay, so this is kind of the start of the bull run here. So again, it's easier said than done looking back at it, of course, but if you look for confirmation, you'll see what I'm referring to here. In other words, we've got this first increase in price, right? So I probably wouldn't invest there because of the simple fact that I didn't get full confirmation. Yes, you got some green bars closing above EMA and VWAP, but it hasn't had a chance to test the EMA line a second time, right? And that testing allows you to confirm that, yes, we're heading in the right direction. It held when it tried to reject. So if you see here, for example, let's just say we didn't take entry here. Price comes up here and you're feeling like, oh no, I got the FOMO. I want to get in. Don't worry. Don't hesitate. You're okay. Just let the price come back down and see what happens, right? It comes up and look how it comes down and it holds on the VWAP line. That's check number one. Awesome. Good. Price held over VWAP. Now check number two is to look and see, is the EMA line below that? Yes, it is. So we've got two confirmations there. So what we do is we wait for 30 minutes. I know it can seem very challenging to wait that long. Trust me, it's advantageous to do this though. The reason why is because we look at these here. There's two solid green bars closing. That is a 30-minute confirmation. That's perfect. That tells you the price action is moving in the direction you want to head. So what you do is you take a small position here, somewhere in the range of just say 30 to 40%. Okay. And when I say small position, never go all in, because until you know, you don't want to chase the bottom first of all, but until you know the price is moving in the direction you're wanting to head, it's best to not put everything in, right? I mean, you best not put everything in until you plan to hodl for the rest of the year, right? That's usually a case of point when you go all in. But in this situation, just say you take a 30-40% position and you took your entry right here. Price comes up, goes sideways for about an hour, and you see how it bounces off the EMA and the VWAP line there, and it goes straight up. That is true confirmation there. So what you do is as soon as you see the bounce and it starts coming up, you add to your position here, and you might add another, just say 30 or 40%. Sorry, my numbers are terrible. This doesn't really let me do my numbers correctly, but you get the idea, right? You take a small position first before you get that bounce, right? So this is you did technically bounce once, but you get that second bounce, you see it bounce over here, and the price comes up, then you're going to be in really, really good shape to continue to ride that wave. And then what you do, of course, is you wait for the RSI to come up over 70, and as you can see here, it's over 70 right at this point where you took your second entry, and you wait for the RSI to come back down. Okay, so here's an example of what that looks like. And if you're not familiar, I have a training video on RSI and how to use it effectively, because you don't just want to exit your position as soon as the RSI is over 70 or take a position under 30. You wait for that confirmation for it to come back up or down to cross that plane. And take a look here. So just say, for example, you exited your position right here. That would be right in this range here. Okay. So let me go ahead and just delete this little guy here so you can see a little bit better. So just say you took your entry here, right? Added to your position and then sold right there. That would be an approximate gain of somewhere around 7-8%. Now that's phenomenal. I love 7-8% gains. Anything over 3% is awesome because my risk tolerance, is usually a 3-to-1 in crypto. So I want to gain 3 times the amount of my investment and only potentially lose 1%. So in this scenario, that would be essentially an 8-to-1 ratio. That's a win-win. Okay. So looking at that, that's great. All right. Now it could be better, and here's the reason why. So just say, for example, you had waited for the RSI to calm down, right? Because again, the price is overextended. See that variance between VWAP and the price action has to come back down. Well, look at the RSI when it's coming down. That's the best time to sell or trim your position. Okay, so that'd be roughly in this range here. Now, if so instead of 8%, if you take a look at this, you add an extra 4%. You had a 33% improvement by waiting. What is that? That's roughly about an hour and a half. I know it seems difficult and tough to be patient in those scenarios, but take a look at these things. These are indicators. They're speaking to you. They're telling you what to do and what everyone else is doing too. The industry leaders are paying attention to this and working and manipulating the market. It's our goal, our action to kind of ride along with them and to ensure we can identify that and maximize our benefit too. Okay. So just something to note, again, these are little things that I like to look at when I take entry. Now obviously Dogecoin is a unique one, but if you apply these theories, you're going to be much more successful, right? So you could have done the same thing here. For example, you could have taken entry here as soon as you get your confirmation, come up, let the price go lateral. As soon as it bounces off EMA, you get your true confirmation, you add to your position here, and then you try to sell somewhere up in the range of this approximate because the RSI is up over 70. Look, RSI is over 70. When it comes right back down, that's when you decide to sell, which is right in this range here. Okay, so that would have been an extra gain of, would have been approximately 15%. Okay, so I hope you can kind of see the common trend here. This is kind of the thing I like to train in my videos because it's, you got to be patient because these are all 15-minute time frames, right? So literally it can be difficult to sit there all day and want to do this. I get that. But what you could do is you could set stop limits and limit orders and make sure that you have things in place so that way if you take you walk away, you still exit the trade profitably. And then obviously once your price comes up above and you get to that 3 or 4% profit target, take your stop limit and move it up so that way if it comes back down, you still have a chance to be able to walk away with a small gain. Now again, a small gain is very important. So one thing I want you to understand here is that your goal every day should be to grow your portfolio size by 1% or more. Now it may not seem like a lot, but if you're familiar with exponential growth and how that works, it's essentially one of the greatest things you could ever do for yourself. So I mean, a lot of people in crypto want to do 10x, 20x, 30x, and these crazy gains, which are very possible, but it's unrealistic to do this all the time. Okay, why not take 1 or 2, 3% here and there? If you grow your portfolio by 1% every day, just say for example you start with $5,000, at the end of 1 year, that's $187,000. So you would essentially take 5,000 turn into 187,000 if you just grew your account by 1% per day. Okay. So it's very possible. So don't be afraid to take small gains, take small profits, and don't feel frustrated with yourself if you take a profit too early and the price keeps going up. There's nothing wrong with that. You took your profit, you got your money. Be happy with that and just continue to do that over and over again. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. So either way, that's enough about this here. Appreciate you watching this far, of course. And furthermore, too, feel free to pay attention. I'm going to have some live streams moving forward, likely here on the weekends, just kind of ironing out a few kinks, as well as the fact that I'm starting a signal group through my Patreon as a premium membership option. So start sending out some good signals there and hopefully help the community. So thanks again to my community for recommending I cover this here. And thanks again for your patience with me as well. I've been extremely busy lately, and that's no excuse. I'm going to get back on the train. We're going to take care of this, and hopefully all learn and grow together as we have so far. So once again, hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you soon.